In the last few years, YouTube has changed quite a bit, and nothing has made this more apparent than the changing of thrones. PewDiePie was once the undisputed king of YouTube with over 100 million subs. But now, MrBeast has taken that spot with over 240 million subscribers. To me, this clearly represents a shift in not only their personal creator brands, but in the content creation field entirely. MrBeast has changed YouTube forever, and there's tons of copycats out there. But is it better today or worse? And most importantly, what does this mean for modern content creators? When the biggest YouTuber in the world is spending $2 million a video, what is the new standard? Well, I think there is a lot to take away here. And if you don't understand what this new era means for content creators, you're going to get left behind. So, without further ado, let's talk about MrBeast versus PewDiePie in the YouTube Game of Thrones. PewDiePie first started on YouTube in 2010, and his main focus was on gaming. Today, gaming channels are extremely common on YouTube. In fact, they might be one of the most common niches, but back then, it wasn't as popular. He regularly did Let's Plays on both popular and indie games alike. And due to his consistency and quality, he was able to grow to 1 million subs in just 2 years. Then, by 2014, he was the most subscribed YouTuber on the platform and established gaming as a major niche as well. Now, at this point, his content was pretty raw and it was all done himself with very little editing. And most of it was just him playing games and telling jokes along the way. Very simple at the time, but it was very novel as well at that time. Now, today we're used to content creators having full production studios with editors and hosts and even actual physical studios. But in PewDiePie's era, most creators were just doing it solo and relatively pretty scrappy. Now, PewDiePie also built his following very steadily. He didn't have a lot of crazy viral moments, just a consistent rise in views. It wasn't until later in his career that he started adding reactions, vlogs, and commentary to his content. He also started doing more viral challenges, and he was essentially making his content more professional. See, up until this point, YouTube and content creation as a career was a very new frontier. And as the biggest creator on the platform, PewDiePie, along with some other creators, were essentially setting the standard for content on the platform. His output was crazy, and he put out a ton of videos, but it wasn't unattainable to be PewDiePie. The biggest YouTuber was basically just a guy playing games and telling jokes on camera. But beyond all of that, this era represents the beginning of YouTube superstardom. There were of course other big YouTubers, but most were never seen as comparable to mainstream celebrities. PewDiePie had the popularity and the cash flow coming in to be seen as a legitimate star in pop culture. But the format of his content was not much different than other creators. It was just done better and more consistently. He started to do more challenges, but it was never so intense as the coming era, which we're going to go into. Though this era helped define what it meant to be a YouTube superstar, what was coming was going to take it to a whole nother level. While PewDiePie was on his legendary rise to fame, there was another young 13-year-old creator who was starting his own journey at the same time. His name was Jimmy, or you may know him better as MrBeast, and he was inspired to start his own career by PewDiePie and other creators on the platform. He took a page out of PewDiePie's book and started doing gaming content, like Let's Plays. But MrBeast was very ambitious and very business-minded. And unlike PewDiePie, his main focus was to become viral. He was doing crazy stunts and challenges to gain attention, and it was working like crazy. By 2018, he had given away over $1 million to people for his videos, and he became a huge YouTuber. He actually even participated in helping PewDiePie become the biggest channel by purchasing billboards and TV ads to help him cross the line. Now, a big difference between PewDiePie and MrBeast from the start is in how they treated content creation. PewDiePie was an individual, solo, scrappy creator, but MrBeast treated it like a business right from the start. Very early on, he hired his friends to help him with his videos, and he was focused on intense growth. PewDiePie focused on consistent growth over a stretched out period of time. You can see MrBeast's business mindset even early on, when he would do videos on the net worth of other creators, which shows to me that he clearly had a fixation on the business opportunities that were in YouTube at the time. By 2022, MrBeast had surpassed PewDiePie as the most subscribed person on YouTube. He had over 100 million subscribers, but what's crazy is that a year later, he doubled it to 200 million. And Jimmy's content did actually start out a bit more scrappy, but now it's super professional. It's actually TV production levels of professionalism, but clearly focused on doing it for the YouTube format. And this is what I like to call the spectacle era of content. He grew by putting a lot of money, time, and effort into creating an experience that's insanely attractive and very hard to turn away from. Things like the real-life Squid Games, or buying everything in a grocery store, and much more entertaining ideas. MrBeast saw the platform as more than just a hobby or even a job. He saw it as an opportunity to build an empire. He was creating game shows, doing insane challenges, and giving away millions of dollars a week. And he even raised an 8-figure round of funding for his company, just like a tech startup would, which to me exactly represents what he sees this as. This is a business startup. Plus, his company has over 250 employees, which is a legit corporation.
Right. Yeah, so right now we have our snack brand, Feastables. We have a restaurant chain, Feastburger. And then we basically, which we haven't even really launched any products yet, but we have the data company that I was showing you, where we're going to roll out some tools for creators. And then we have the Reacts channel, the gaming channel, the main channel, and then we have My Charity, which also has a channel.
The whole idea of the spectacle era is putting out irresistible and clickbaity titles and thumbnails that you can actually follow up with within the video. So things like shredding a Lamborghini on the thumbnail and then actually shredding a Lamborghini. That's what spectacle is. And as he's taken the throne as the king of YouTube, we've seen his influence all over the platform. To explain the effects that these two have had on the platform, I'm going to tell a story that works as a metaphor for both of them, so bear with me. In the early days of computing, IBM released the first personal computer, which started a revolution. It made computers a part of the mainstream conversation and elevated IBM to new heights. But when that released, it inspired two groups of tech nerds to get into the industry. Those two groups were Apple and Microsoft. And they took computers from a nerdy thing to an everybody in the world thing. IBM laid the groundwork of making it mainstream, but Apple and Microsoft built even bigger companies by seeing what was coming and being the first to realize it. This story, in my opinion, reflects the relationship between PewDiePie and MrBeast. Without PewDiePie, MrBeast wouldn't exist and definitely wouldn't have the ambition to grow as large as he did. PewDiePie was the example to all content creators of what's possible at the upper echelon of this platform. But MrBeast took it even further and showed what happens when you build a business around this industry. And once it becomes that mainstream, everyone who has ambitions of being rich sees this as an opportunity. See, during PewDiePie's era, YouTubers were early adopters. There was no promise of huge success, so all of the YouTubers that were going big at the time were really taking a risk on themselves. MrBeast was one of those people, but now that he's built an empire around it, people see that this is not a niche thing. This is something that can lead to huge success, and it's made it a mainstream opportunity. But there's also a side of this that discourages people as well. MrBeast makes videos that are unattainable for most people, and so a lot of people won't even try. When PewDiePie was around, it looked far easier and it seemed easy to just play games on camera. It was of course still difficult to create content, but it appeared easier. This is usually how it goes. When it's easier to get in, people don't do it because it looks cringe and you have to be an early adopter. But when it becomes mainstream, everyone wants to do it, but that makes it much more difficult because the barrier to entry rises. On the other end of the spectrum though, we do have a lot of MrBeast clones and people that were inspired to take this really seriously. People like Airrack, Ben Azalart, and Unspeakable have built huge brands based on spectacle. But if you watch YouTube, I'm sure you've noticed that even though spectacle is a big trend, there's still plenty of gameplay and talking head YouTubers. While the long-standing YouTubers of the old era may still be doing the exact same type of content, I see MrBeast influence even on the more mundane side of YouTube. Take Graham. He makes finance content, which in concept is kind of boring and far away from spectacle. But his most popular videos do include spectacle, like buying a Tesla for cheap or a $10 million credit card. The other thing is that the production value has gone up a lot since PewDiePie's emergence. It's of course expected over time that quality gets better as cameras get better, but the big influencers of this era have accustomed us to wanting great editing and visuals. People like Michelle Carr have literally created a TV show on YouTube. It signifies that YouTube is more than just a creative side hustle for a lot of people. It is now an opportunity to build a billion-dollar network or TV show or brand. So, now that we understand the difference between these two eras and these two kings of YouTube, how should new content creators proceed in this era? Well, for one, you need to be willing to make attention-grabbing content every single time. In PewDiePie's day, you could build a following and then just release updates about your life and YouTube would show it to your audience. But now, unless you're a celebrity or have an extraordinary life, most people don't care about vlogs or general updates. Each video should have a concept, a lesson, or something entertaining that gets people to watch. You can definitely include personal elements into your videos, but it should not be the hook or the reason that people start watching them. You can definitely include personal elements like vlogs in your videos, but it is not going to be the hook of your video. Take the fitness creator Max Taylor, for example. His video titles are about specific workouts, but the videos themselves are basically vlogs. But he has to hook you in using a compelling hook first, and he has to fulfill on that hook somewhere in the video. Next, you need to understand that being a content creator is running a business, and it needs to be treated as so. You don't have to hire a huge team or spend a lot of money, but you need an entrepreneur's mindset. Building an audience takes marketing skills, and maintaining it takes focus, organization, and relentlessness. Content creation is ultimately a very personal and sometimes lonely thing, which means in order to complete it, you need to manage your time like a business owner does. Just making videos when you feel like it probably won't fly. You have to create a schedule for yourself and stick to it. MrBeast schedules out every minute of his life to stay on track, and even PewDiePie had a pretty intense schedule when he first started. You don't need to be that extreme, but scheduling in time to work on your content every week is an absolute must. And in treating it like a business, make sure you pay attention to your data. You don't need to be obsessive about it, but make sure you understand what people like about your content. Finally, you need to invest into your content to add a level of spectacle to it. This doesn't need to be money, but at the very least, it should be extra time and skills. In PewDiePie's day, thumbnails were important, but not as much as today. MrBeast spends thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours on his thumbnails and titles.
But you guys went out into a field, and then for the thumbnail, you took a picture of Conan the Barbarian cutting the car in half for a good thumbnail.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, do you frequently go that far out of your way to capture the thumbnail?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everyone should. I mean, if people don't click, they don't watch. So you want to give them something to click.
You don't need to go that far, but you definitely should learn how to design an attractive thumbnail. And beyond just the thumbnail, you need to learn how to create compelling content. This could mean going to interesting locations, having a friend help you on your channel, or taking classes to become a better entertainer. YouTube is competing with TV, and television stars and directors spend lots of time owning their craft to become top-of-the-line entertainers. Understand that this is what you're competing against and make yourself an adequate competition. Watching the evolution of YouTube throughout the years has been really interesting to see. When PewDiePie was the king of YouTube, it was a simpler time, but they were the pioneers of what it meant to be a content creator on this platform. And it wasn't just PewDiePie, it was Smosh, Jenna Marbles, Markiplier, and many more that defined what it looked like to be a successful content creator. And now, MrBeast is redefining it, but he's still doing it on the backs of these giants, and we're watching it completely evolve. I don't know what the next era of YouTube will look like, but I'm almost positive it will look very different from what we have right now. MrBeast said it himself. The next MrBeast is not going to be doing the same thing as MrBeast. They're going to be doing something completely different that overtakes him. So my advice to budding creators boils down to this. Don't try to be the new MrBeast or the new PewDiePie or the new anyone. Use them as inspiration to become better, but you want to add your own flair and become your own type of creator. As successful as these people are, you can provide something that they can't, and it's up to you to figure out what that is. But you're not going to find it by just thinking about it or even by watching videos like this. You're going to find it by creating and evolving as you get new input. So, with that said, keep creating, keep doing your thing. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.